One of, if not the most influential voices in the content creation spaces, especially for those looking to get educated and started on improving in the YouTube space, has to be Sean Cannell, who you might recognize from Think Media and the Think Media podcast. Their videos have been going viral, and chances are you've seen their videos rank pretty high if you've ever looked for a camera or any YouTube gear for that matter. Or maybe even saw their shorts in your YouTube feed. What a weird sentence that is. Anyways, he did a live stream on the Think Media podcast channel yesterday, which isn't unusual, but in this case, for all creators and especially Christians, this one was a bit different and special from his normal camera reviews or top 5 YouTube secrets. The title of this video was A Message to Christian Content Creators. In this video, Sean took his audience to church, bringing a lot of biblical truth when it comes to the Christian calling, while at the same time giving a Think Media workshop that feels similar to his other videos. And while this video might seem daunting to some to watch since it's over an hour long, I think it is well worth the investment of your time and has what I think personally are some of the best keys and secrets that he's ever given to real success, not just as a Christian content creator or a content creator in general, but as a Christian, a follower of Jesus. But don't take my word for it. If that didn't convince you, maybe these next few points will. And make sure to stick around to the very end because his last point is my personal favorite. But it only makes sense with the context of the discussion leading up to it. Because Sean echoes what I've been saying and trying to convince people of for a while now. He opens up by talking about this.
Let's dive into some of the thoughts that I wrote down. But number one is we were created to create. God is a creator, and what's fascinating to me is the 5th word in the Bible is God revealing himself as a creator. It says, in the beginning, God created. How crazy is it that the first thing that God revealed about himself was not that he was loving, was not that he was holy, was not any of these other things, but that he was a creator. And ultimately being made in the image of God. The Hebrew word for that is bara, and it's to create, to shape, and to form. What we do as content creators is we're making something out of nothing. We're using our phones and cameras. We are telling stories. We're building businesses. We are launching products. We're creating something. I believe we are most like we are looking like God, created in God's image when we are creating.
As people being made in the image of God, like Sean says, our God is a creator. And so we all have passions and interests and a desire to create something in the areas that we enjoy because we are all wired to be creators. Now, for some, they might not think that that's YouTube, but the truth and reality is we need Christians in every space of interest and on every platform. Why? Because there are other people in these spaces who don't know God and who are far from him. And God could have gifted you and created you with a passion to speak into the people's lives who share a similar passion as you and share with them the love of Christ. I talk about this more in these videos here if you're interested more on my thoughts on that. But Sean doesn't end the conversation there. Oh no, we are far from it. But it actually only gets better from here because he doesn't leave it at the wants and passions that each of us have and let us decide whether or not we want to create. But he actually takes it a step further by saying this.
And let's go number 2. We were given a mission from Jesus. The Great Commission says, therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I commanded you, as surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. Here's what I want to lean in on. Teaching them to obey everything I commanded you. When Jesus said this at the end of the book of Matthew, the question was, well, what did he teach? And what did he tell? What was the content of that? Fast forward to today, we have the full Bible.
We are all called to the Great Commission by Jesus himself to go out and teach and make disciples throughout the whole world. This isn't just a luxury for Christians, but it's an aspect and command of our calling. A way in which we can help do our part in the Great Commission is through content creation. If you feel that pull. Now, I'm not saying everyone is meant to go viral and every faithful Christian will become the next Mr. Beast. But what Sean and I are saying is that a massive way to have an effective and influential reach to people all around the world, or to put it scripturally, reach the ends of the earth, can be through content creation. Sean goes on to explain that this doesn't mean that to be faithful to this calling, all Christians need to have explicitly Christian Bible study content either. Check out this distinction and insight that he makes here.
By the way, the Great Commission is not just for a pastor or for a church, it's for anybody that would call themselves a Christ follower. So what I think this is so important for content creators, number one, we were created to create. Number two, we were given a mission from Jesus, is it is my conviction that this isn't just for Christian, that the only type of content creators representing Jesus should be creating Christian content. Fair? In fact, sometimes people are like, I didn't even really know, Sean, that you were a Christian. That kind of surprised me because, I didn't hear you talk about it or something. And the reason was that for that had a lot to do with the fact that I don't do Christian camera reviews. I don't believe there's such a thing. You know what I mean? Like, what doesn't make sense? You just do camera reviews. I think there's something about being able to be salt and light. If you do have a Bible study channel, a discipleship channel, you're creating Christian content that's overtly Christian, that's amazing. But I think there's a lot of opportunity.
His points here on the type of content you decide to make should be guided by what Peter himself said in 1 Peter 3:15, to honor Christ and let him be the Lord of your life. And this includes our content creation, regardless if you have a review channel, a camping blog, an Instagram meme page, or a straight up Bible study channel. All of this type of content should be filtered through the lens of first and foremost honoring Christ, which means you work hard not just for money or base your decisions not on just what a certain target audience would find helpful, but your decisions are driven primarily by what pleases God. And that includes working hard, creating interesting content, and being commendable in your field. These things are not mutually exclusive from being faithful to God. The distinction is that they aren't the root of why you do what you do. Sean then moves on to another great point by talking about what it means to be salt and light to the world. And this might, or it definitely did, rub some people the wrong way, but I personally love it. Check this out.
You are here to be light and to bring out the God colors in the world. So if you want to build a brand, you want to create a merch line, you want to launch music, you want to inspire people with creativity, you want to help bullet journals, you're here to bring out the God colors in the world, to help people. And like the NIV, it talks about your salt and light, a city on a hill not to be hidden, so that people would see your good works and praise your Father in heaven. Question is, how can they see your good works if you're not uploading videos? How can they see good works if you get distracted or you get discouraged and you get sidelined and you're not posting? What would it look like if we were creating content that brought the God colors out in the world? And, there's an old saying that it's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. And our conviction kind of at Think Media, I know there's all different expressions of Christianity, is sometimes I get a little uncomfortable though when Christians are just known for what they're against and not for what they're for. When they're just known for maybe picketing in front of places and criticizing things they don't agree with. While maybe you feel called to that, that's between you and God. But I think the big opportunity is, rather than curse the darkness, it's better to light one candle. What does that mean? There's a book called Next Christians by Gabe Lyons, and it talks about the way to actually shape culture is not to curse culture, but it's to create more culture.
When Christians are only known for what they are against and not what they are for, it could really hurt the Christian witness. Man, what a great line. And it's a good reminder for us that if we don't like the culture that is around something that we are passionate about, it is our job as Christians to create better culture. But he didn't stop there, because he addressed what I see a lot of people think humility is, and he addresses this by speaking of what humility actually is and what it means, and more importantly, what it doesn't mean. Check this out.
But there's just such a massive opportunity for you to be salt and light and to go public with this and to shine like a city on a hill. And I think this makes people uncomfortable, because some people, especially Christians, they're like, I just don't want to promote myself. It's a good point, because we need to be humble, right? But there's a difference between toxic ambition or selfish ambition and godly ambition. And if your godly ambition is that God would be glorified through your works, that you'd bring out the God colors in the world, that you recognize there's a lot of evil and there's a lot of falsehood, and there's a need of truth, and there's a need of beauty, and there's a need of God's wisdom being brought into the world, that's a pretty good reason to shine bright. And the reason I wanted to make this video too is just because, as a Christian myself, I'm very familiar with this world. Been in church for the last lot of years, maybe since 2003 or 20 years or something, like really in church. So I've been Christian for a while, and certain mindsets I'll see as people hesitate. Oh, I just want to be humble. I don't know if that's real humility. It's probably false humility, because meanwhile, God's calling you to shine and to go do something and build something and reach someone and impact someone.
The difference between selfish ambitions and trying to honor God and the calling he has for us are vastly different. And humility, or false humility, should not be used as a reason to not make a kingdom impact. I've heard it said before, humility isn't thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking of yourself less. But then, ladies and gentlemen, we get to my personal favorite part. I mean, this is all great stuff, but this has to be hands down what made me really decide to cover all of this, and that is his fourth point here. And I just want to let the clip play for a few seconds.
You spending 3 years in Babylon, you like Moses spending time in Egypt, but then also just knowing that culture did not influence Daniel. Daniel influenced the culture. Lived a little bit of a different lifestyle, he had a different diet, prayed 3 times a day, but also was trained. Number 4 is you got to skill up. Like, if you are a Christian content creator, you got to go a little bit deeper at times than just like, I'm just going to pray and my channel is going to grow. And I know like that's not what you think, but that's how some people like, if it's God's will, my channel will go. Actually, God's will is that you would skill up. Like, God's will is that you take responsibility. God's will is that you would meditate on the law, Joshua chapter 1, so that in doing so, you may prosper in all your ways. That when you would skill up and learn skills and develop your skills and abilities, the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but victory belongs to the Lord. There's something that you have a responsibility in to skill up. And these guys skilled up, but then when God's super came on their natural, there's these magicians, these enchanters, and in every matter requiring wisdom and balanced judgment, King Nebuchadnezzar found them more capable. 10x so.
God's will is that you would skill up and take responsibility. I've been in the content creation space for a number of years now, just moved over to YouTube the last few months, but I've seen both on the Twitch side and on the YouTube side, people, Christians, who pride themselves on being on these platforms as creators from the beginning, before the hype train ever even left the station. But when I go and watch their channel to give them a chance, they haven't uploaded in weeks or months. The videos they do have uploaded are really boring and aren't any better than the last ones or the one before that. And the excuse I hear often is that it's because they're making Christian content. And at some point, God is just going to bless their faithfulness at the right time. But it's like, dude, you aren't uploading, you aren't creating anything new for God to bless. You are like a poor man just hoping to become rich, but not wanting to get an actual job. It doesn't mean it won't take time. Listen to how he talks about it here.
And the lid on your YouTube channel, I said it in love, is probably your content sucks, among other things. And so what's the opportunity? How do you solve that problem? You skill up, you improve, you train for 3 years. You go out and repeatedly throw rocks at glass bottles. I don't know if David had glass bottles in those days, and increase your slingshot accuracy week after week, month after month, year over year. And then when Goliath arrives, you're able to have the precise target where you're able to hit this small area in the giant's head and enter into your destiny. Sure, God's super comes on your natural. Sure, that was a miraculous event, but he prepared for that moment where his preparation met God's power. And that's what we need to do as content creators as well.
I love these points that he's making here because I think it's something that in love, a lot of Christians need to hear. Are we actually willing to skill up? Are we trying to be consistent more in our upload schedules or in just how we are editing or what we are doing in our script writing, in our B-roll, in the cuts that we're making? Are we making things that are actually entertaining and engaging to people? Because like he said, content is king, and we have the greatest content of all to pull from, to be inspired from. So we need to stop using the excuse that Christian content creators can't make it, can't find success on a platform, and that we are just being marginalized and targeted. While some of that might be true, the reality is we need to rise above that and be reminded that we have a God who has overcome the world. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That was just actually the first 4 points of a lot of points. I think he had 6 total in this video and a lot more to say after that. This was only the first like 20 minutes of the hour-long conversation. So let me know if you want part 2 by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel so you do not miss any of it. Now, it might already be up here if you're watching this later on. It might be right down here. But in case not, YouTube thinks that's a video you're gonna enjoy anyways, or I picked out this one specifically that if you enjoy my content, you like this type of video, check out this one. I think you're gonna enjoy it. But until next time, guys, know that you are valued and loved, and I'll see you soon.